Most brands have no idea whether Google or Facebook are driving incremental profit to their business. And so in this video, I want to run you through our incrementality testing model that allows you to determine statistical relevancy on whether increasing budgets on Google and Facebook is actually driving an increase in top-line sales or top-line orders and new customer revenue, as that's really the more specific goal that you're orientating yourself towards when you're trying to scale spend in platform. Firstly, what is incrementality testing? I put in a graph here to really simplify it down, which is simply that you're trying to test whether there is an actual lift in conversion value or in attributed top-line revenue due to a change made in marketing budgets. And so if we increase budgets on Facebook by 50%, will we see a 50% incremental uplift on our top-line revenue? In 2024, there's such a lack of visibility over whether the platforms are actually driving new customer acquisition because of how heavily Facebook and Google goes after existing customers and existing visitors, that being able to actually derive results from top-line revenue and reference budget increases in that fashion gives you a lot better visibility into the actual economic relationship between how you can move marketing spend and what that's going to do to the size of your business, as well as the net profit on your business. And so what we did is we built a relatively rudimentary model that goes and shows you incrementality testing and statistical relevancy of these changes. And so how it works is that you go and dump order data straight out of the backend of Shopify for daily new customer gross sales, new customer orders, returning customer gross sales, returning customer orders, Facebook spend, Google spend, and whether an EDM campaign was sent off or not, and what the attributed revenue was on that campaign, as EDM campaigns can significantly skew any kind of returning customer or even new customer relationship within the data set. Now, this is really like a 100x oversimplified version of what MMM or media mix modeling is, where you tag up every single day and try to determine relationships between changes in marketing spend on individual channels and platforms to determine how that impacts top-line revenue. Now, MMM really is only translatable and relevant to if you are doing over $50 million in revenue a year and you have 5+ years of data to tag up. And the reason for that is because trying to find correlations within data sets when you have more than 2 to 3 variables becomes almost impossible. And so there's a few core assumptions that you need to put into place and that you need to ensure actually occur if you're going to run an incrementality test. Assumption number 1 is that as you start to enter into the phase of running a test, that there isn't any seasonality that's going to throw the numbers around. There's no sales that are going to throw the numbers around, and there's no major change that you're making to the offer, structure, pricing, website during this time period. Now, that's often very difficult for most small size businesses to do because they're changing and evolving their brand so quickly to try to find something that works. So this more so applies to medium-sized businesses that are doing between $1 to $10 to $15 million per year. It also applies to 15 to 25, but in that case, I would likely build out a more robust incrementality testing model that tags up a few more variables. So what actual output do we have here? What are we looking at? Because it looks like a bunch of random numbers, but how does this actually work? Firstly, I would recommend running a test for at least 30 days. And so we have a start date of the control period and a start date of the test period within here. And this is specified. And so for this brand, we ran a March test. We ran March as a control period where no variables were changed. And then moving into the test period, we 10x'd Facebook budget. Now, this wasn't our suggestion. This was something that was wanting to be pushed by the client. We actually recommended against it because I didn't believe that this test would show any degree of significance, and it didn't. And so this is what we see in the data, which is that if we look at daily numbers, which is what we're looking at here, we can see that daily gross sales during the control period were 8.7 thousand. Moving into the test period, there were 9.2. So there was a slight differential of $500 a day, which was a 5.67% uplift. Now, if we look at daily orders, there was only a 3% uplift here. And in fact, if you looked at daily orders across the month, they were the exact same. Total orders was the exact same. The only reason why there's any difference here is because there was a 1-day difference between March and April. But total orders was actually the exact same between those 2 months. New customer gross sales only changed by 1.5%. And the whole purpose of increasing Facebook spend and running an incrementality test is so that you can increase new customer sales. you generally won't see a significant uplift in returning customer sales from increasing spend due to the small proportion of retargeting and the lack of influence that you really have over contributing increases in lifetime value. That's a common misconception that a lot of people have, which is that they think they have control over LTV when you really don't. You can influence it slightly, so you can have better flows, you can have better emails, you can improve your customer experience. But at the end of the day, you're just trying to make influences to lifetime value. You do not have control over it and the ability to change it. Fundamentally, the lifetime value or the maximum lifetime value that you can achieve is determined by the product and the customer journey that you've built from day one. And so to really take control of lifetime value, you have to change the framing of the product and the framing of the customer journey that they go through, rather than make a change to advertising budgets within Facebook. It will make a slight improvement, it will make a slight change, but it's not going to completely change it. And so that's why referencing new customer gross sales and new customer orders is important. What we will see is that returning customer sales went up. And so the uptick that we saw in gross sales was actually just because returning customer sales went up. And this makes a little bit of sense because Facebook probably went and heavily retargeted all existing customers and allowed us to achieve a slight delta for a slight period of time here. The question then really becomes, was this profitable? Was the 5% increase in gross sales worth it for the 704% increase in Facebook spend? And the answer is obviously no. Okay, the incremental ROI here was 0.88, which means for every additional dollar that was spent, we were getting 88 cents back in top line revenue, assuming a 100% relationship. Now, was there a 100% relationship? Does the data showcase that the increase in sales was because of the increase in Facebook spend if we look at a day-to-day relationship? The answer is no. So the alpha value that we got was 22.27%. And what this means is that the difference between gross sales observed has a 22.27% chance of just being statistical randomness within the data set. This is a really, really high number. The only position in which you really want this to be in to have valid data that you're going to take action on is sub 5%. And so this is 4x, in fact, a little bit further above where we want it. Now, on top of that, we also did a correlation calculation. What the correlation calculation shows you is it measures the strength and direction of the linear relationship between two variables. -1 is a direct negative relationship. So as we increase Google spend by $1, revenue will decrease by $1. A one relationship is $1 increase across both variables. Right here, we have a 0.0762 relationship, which indicates an incredibly weak relationship and essentially says that there's statistical irrelevancy here. We also did a regression to try to showcase what a linear relationship would look like between these. And you can see the definitions. You can pause the video if you want to see what these are actually telling you. But once again, they're proving the point that there isn't any statistical relevancy here. And then lastly, we have the t-test, which is what the alpha value refers to. We have the incremental ROI. We then have the R-squared value as well. Every single statistical analysis that is run within this sheet shows that there is no statistical relationship between daily gross sales and Facebook spend, which showcase that this entire test was not worth it and we should revert Facebook spend back to where it was. Now, this model also allows you to dynamically change between Google spend and EDM frequency so that all of the incrementality test equations change accordingly to show you whether there was a relationship within that particular variable. So this ends up being a very easy model to use where you can just dump the last 60 days of data from the back end of Shopify and immediately know what the incremental ROI was from that test, as well as whether there was statistical relevancy in the changes that you made. Once again, if you want to run incrementality testing for yourself in your own brand, you want to figure out, is Facebook actually driving incremental profit? Is Google actually driving incremental profit? Reach out to us on our website. We'll make sure to link it in the description below and we can provide you with this model. Thanks for watching that video. If you want to learn more about Blue Sense Digital, click the link in the description below. Reach out to us for a free growth evaluation video where we'll map out how you can achieve your financial outcome goals with your e-commerce brand over the next 6 to 12 months.